Alan living the dream, Quartermain. Did you ever think 50 years would go by this fast, Bubba?
Are we live on TV or radio?
We is it. I just sat down Seinfeld and I said, look, we're taking over the show today. But boys and girls, this is Alan, Mr. Lucky Quartermain, and we met in 1970 when they opened the Conti Commodity office in West LA on the 20th floor, and he met Sparky the fireman who lived in Westlake Village. And before the day was over, I think you bought one or two houses in Westlake, didn't you, Alan? Because I know you had one, but did you buy two or not?
I can't keep count, Larry.
Oh, there were that many of them. Okay, I'm sorry. I should have known that. Hey, listen.
That's it's not including the tent from Sears.
Yeah. Well, you've never had a job either, other than being a captain in the Army. Is that right?
That was my last official job.
Wow.
I was the designated cower in the 101st Airborne Division.
Well, is that when you won the 2 silver stars and the Congressional Medal of Honor?
That's right, and the badge of courage.
That's what I thought. Hey, listen, Chief, we've posted this thing about this spelunking, well, not spelunking, but this stuff with the captain's pirate's treasure and stuff. Folks, the first time I saw this silver bar, he was using it as a doorstop at one of your homes. I forget. Was it the one in? Well, I think it was Italy that you were using, or Florida. I don't remember.
No. Do you want to hear the story of the silver bar?
Go right ahead, my friend. You've got it.
Okay, so I got involved. I've always been a sailor. I tried to make the America's Cup crew, and they laughed because of my size. Those guys are bigger than linebackers. But at any rate, I've always been a sailor. But I bought a motor yacht instead to live aboard in San Diego, which was 65 feet. It was a beautiful boat. And I decided I was going to be a treasure diver, which I know absolutely nothing about. And to me, swimming is survival in the water. But at any rate, I got involved with it. I took my pop to Florida, where we went to the Mel Fisher Museum in Key West, and where I met Duncan Matheson, who was the archaeologist on the find for the Western Day of Atocha. A terrific guy, brilliant, and we became friends. I never got involved with treasure diving, fortunately. And he called me. He had a little bit of financial difficulty, and he needed a loan. So I said, well, do you have any collateral? And he said, sure, I'll give you a silver bar from the Atocha, which will weigh 72 pounds. And I said, fine, I'll send you $5,000 or $6,000. And when you give me back my money, no interest, I'll be delighted to give you back your silver bar. So he sent me the bar, and the mailman came down to the end of my marina dock and said, Alan, I can't bring this, whatever the heck it is, it's too heavy. So I had to go to the post office and pick up a silver ingot bar at 72 pounds. At any rate, got the silver bar, never heard from Duncan again. Hopefully he's alive and well. And I had this silver bar and about 5,000 or 6,000 tied up in it. And it was just as I said, it was a doorstop on my boat. And when I would have dinner parties, which I had often, it was a beautiful boat, and I would say, I was on the National Geographic special. Everybody at the dinner party would say, we want to, and I said, I have a film of it, the tape. So I would play the tape, and of course I was never part of that expedition. But they would be disappointed. Where were you? We didn't see you on the... And then I would take from behind the sofa, I'd pull out this 72-pound bar and drop it in the center of the salon. Everybody would scream, look, it's a silver bar from the Atocha. Long story short is that recently a friend of mine called me from Washington State and said, listen, silver is doing well. It was around 25 or 26 at the time. And you ought to try and peddle it. So I called Heritage Auctions down in Dallas. They're all over the world. Very reputable auction house. And they said, we'd be delighted to have it. We'll pay for shipping and insurance, and we'll guarantee you $15,000 as an opening bid. So I said, fine. And because this silver bar has just been sitting. Well, at any rate, it went off, and the auction was in the daytime, and the internet auction closed at 18. I was just 18,000. I was very disappointed. But then my cousin called and said, hey, listen, the rest of the auction is tonight by telephone and live. So it went off at 33,300. So I made a couple bucks on it, which was great. And it was an adventure, and I still have the tape and pictures of the silver bar, which I sent to Larry.
Yeah, well, that's good. We posted it into the room so everybody can see it. Alan, tell the story about the boat when you took it from San Diego down to Puerto Vallarta. That to me is funny.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that is really funny. So,
well, funny in hindsight. At any rate, the story there goes. I don't want to be braggadocious, but I really could write a book and a screenplay about this life I've lived. I'm almost 80 years old. I've never been married. I've been kissed a couple of times, and that's about as close as I've gotten. But at any rate, I had this motor yacht and a good crew, a couple of young fellows, 26, who was a dive master, and an 18-year-old who was a world-class sport fisherman. And we put this trip together. We're going to Cuba. We're going to go down by Mexico and then through the Panama Canal and through some very hostile areas. So I don't have the ability, I quickly learned, to do this, but we were off. But before we left, I decided I needed to be properly armed, having been ex-military and so forth. And so I had some serious weaponry on the boat. I had 3 or 4 long guns. I had stainless shotgun, a couple of handguns. I had 10,000 rounds of ammunition. I had a case of stun grenades, a case of fragmentation grenades. And so I was ready because, I've been out on in the middle of the ocean and there ain't no police department. And, you're on your own. And these pirates know what they're doing. So at any rate, all this armament and ammunition were hidden in the walls, and only I knew where it could be found. Because I didn't want my crew to, become frightened and if we had any authorities on the boat, give up the boat and me. At any rate, we left and we made our way down to Mag Bay, where we broke down and had fuel problems, contaminated fuel. I ended up without my crew with one Costa Rican fellow, Jose, who I picked up in a bar, which was stupid, as a crew member, and I made my way limping into Puerto Vallarta and stayed at the Puerto Vallarta Marina, which is an upscale marina. And on a Sunday, we pulled in, and I called my buddy who lives in San Miguel de Allende, and he came in for dinner. And we went out that evening for dinner, and I left Jose on the foredeck and said, just keep an eye on the boat. That's your job. So when I came back that evening, the boat had around 15 heavily armed Mexican black outfitted fellows with some automatic weapons. And they said, I thought, oh, my goodness, Jose must have killed somebody. And I came up to the boat.
Alan, we got to pay some bills here. This is a commercial for about 3 minutes. Stay with us, would you please?
You bet.
Alan Quartermain on the line, folks. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, folks, with my friend Alan. He's telling us about his escapades down in Puerto Vallarta with the Federales. So you want to finish the story, Alan?
Yes. So at any rate, we limped into Puerto Vallarta, and I had dinner that evening, Sunday evening, with my pal who came in from Mexico. And I came back, and the boat had about 15 Federale-type heavily armed fellas, and they said, I thought there was a problem, and they said, we need to search your boat. And I said to them, listen, I came from the north. I don't have narcotics. They said, we must search the boat. So I reluctantly they wanted to send a whole crew on, and Mexico, they can drop a narcotic on the boat and take the boat and put you in jail forever. So I said, oh, no, only one man with my crew member and one man with me so I can watch them. At any rate, they searched the boat for an hour. I held my breath, scared to death. And they left. Mexico, if people don't know, is a very lawless country. I swear that my pal and I finished one bottle of Johnny Walker Scotch after they left. We were so frightened. At any rate, the next day I went out for a morning jog. My pal went off to a business meeting. I came back and looked down at the dock, and now there were 2 Army trucks in the area of the dock. There was a helicopter above my boat. There was a gunship behind my boat, and now there were about 35 seriously armed Mexicans. And I stupidly went down to the boat. I should have just gone right to the airport and taken off. But I went down to the boat, and now the general was there, the jefe, and he says, "Now, Capitan, we must search this boat good." Oh, incidentally, 2 dog teams and 2 dive teams on the dock. So I thought, oh, my God. And my heart was beating out of my chest. At any rate, they searched the boat, and I was afraid that the dogs could smell the oil in the gunpowder, but they're apparently trained for narcotics, which I told my crew, I don't want 1 marijuana cigarette on this boat. So they searched for about an hour and a half, and they looked at all of my documents, and I'm scared to death in the pilot house, which is a good-sized pilot house with 2 radars and sonar and everything else. At any rate, I had a carpenter build a stoop right by the steering wheel, which had a secret button. If you press the button, the stoop would flip and open up to a not sawed off, but a stainless steel shotgun with about 10 rounds on the barrel. And the general had his foot on the step, and he said, "Oh, Capitan, do you have any guns on this boat?" And I then played the fool and said, "Yes, I do." And I took out my SOS gun, flare gun, and I said, "Here's my gun." And he said, No, Capitan, guns. And I started to argue with him. I said, "This is a gun," trying to act as dumb as possible. And he finally was frustrated and said, "That is not a gun." And they left. When they left, this whole entourage left. Within 10 minutes, maybe 15, I said to my neighbor on the boat next door in the next dock, "Listen, if anything happens on my boat, please call me in San Diego." I got to the airport within 20 minutes, took off, hid in San Diego for about a week to 2 weeks, didn't hear from my neighbor, called my old trusted crew out of San Francisco. We flew down at 11 o'clock at night. We got on the boat at 12 o'clock, heated up the engines, made ready, released the lines at 1, and deadheaded straight to San Diego over the next 2 days and 2 nights, and pulled into San Diego. And the next morning I went to the boat broker. I said, "Sell it for whatever you can get for it. I am out of the boating business now." And I haven't been back to Mexico since 1999, so that's 21 years. Don't intend to go back either.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I hate to change the subject, buddy, but you've been studying these markets. You've made your livelihood from this. Is there any market that looks really interesting to you now, Alan? I mean, folks, you can't believe the amount of work this young man does, because he has well, he's not young. He's 6 months older than me. But, Alan, you've done a lot of work. Is there anything that's on your radar that you're really looking at longer term that might be interesting to the folks?
You know, Larry, I'm not good at giving as such tips or whatever. The only thing I can say is that I have a method of investing and trading. Sometimes it lasts 5 minutes. Sometimes it lasts 5 weeks, the trade. And it is revolved around the use of Fibonacci, which is paramount to understanding how these things move. I am 110% technical. I try to avoid the fundamentals because I find them I'm not smart enough to decipher or understand them, and they're only confusing to me. So, no, I can't say that I could say with any assuredness that there's a trade that I would recommend right now. I don't like to do that anyhow.
Okay.
But yes, go ahead, Larry.
No, I said that's fine. I didn't want to put you on the spot because I know when you and I talk, it's sort of like we're like brothers. But I just thought maybe these poor folks out here at TFNN, they're just trying to 10 times make a dollar. Most of them are starving to death, and we were hoping you might be able to feed a few families. But if you don't want to help the folks, that's okay, Alan. I understand. No, hey, I'm just pulling your chain, buddy. I didn't want to put you on the spot, and I should have talked to you about this ahead of time because I know the quality of the work and how you value it, and I apologize, buddy.
No, you don't have
that.
to apologize. But I would strongly urge that there was a time for many, many years I used bar charts, and I find candlestick charts to be much, much more beneficial. So I would suggest that Nissan's book, I think his name is Nissan. His book. Uh-huh. Yeah, Steve Nissan. Yeah, I would. You couldn't get me to use bar charts anymore. Strictly a candlestick, but candlestick alone is not the answer. Candlestick. It's multiple techniques in order to be a technician of any success.
Yeah, I know. Can you remember the days back in Westlake Village when we used to get our charts from Commodity Perspectives delivered by special delivery on Saturday morning? It seems like
I remember the good old days when I was beginning in the business. I was strictly a commodities trader. I was not successful. And there was a day when we used to have the clicking board numbers up on the front of the room, and you would just constantly hear. We would hear this clicking. There were no computers, and we had paper charts. We used pencils. It was unbelievable. And a funny story, which I was trading, I guess at Conti or Clayton, and I was in pork bellies, and pork bellies were, I was long pork bellies, and they were up the limit, and I said to everyone in the office, let's go to lunch. It's on me at Monty's Steakhouse across the street. Remember that place, Larry?
Yep, I sure do, right on Westwood Boulevard, you bet.
Yep, it was up on the roof. And I took everybody to lunch, and I was up limit on pork bellies, and I came back and looked up at the board, and I said, what's wrong with the board? And the head broker said, we have a little problem. The bellies are down the limit now. So instead of making about $28,000, I was down $28,000 for the trade. That's a true story.
Yeah, I've had it happen to me before too, pal. That's for sure. Hey, listen, the time on the wall says we've used too much of your time, but maybe one of these days down in the future we can chat with you some more. Would you be willing to do that?
I'd love to, Larry. Anything,
hey, listen,
I love it, pal.
And be safe wherever you are. Are you in the south of France? Or are you in Florence? Where are you? You still in the United States?
I'm in Camden, New Jersey right now with my doors locked.
All right, we'll be right back.
Bye-bye.
877-927-6648.